It's time for Admissions Monday, Admissions from the Heart with Jewel Fitzgerald. So glad you came back. Today we're going to talk about the adventures that I've had and still are having as a person in debt. All of us are debtors of some sort, I'm sure. So we'll just talk about where I've been, where God has taken me, and how that's working out. So I'm always in debt. I'm still in debt. But as a youngster, I was pretty good at my money. I had little books where I kept a record of the allowance that my parents gave me. And then I didn't spend too much money because I was trying to save it. I wasn't saving for nothing in particular, just saving money because I think I was just a little tight. But I did spend money on lunches and, sweet things, candy, that kind of stuff from the store. And most of that stuff didn't cost that much then anyway. So I kept a real record of that. So then eventually when I became an adult, I had a credit card because, in the United States, it seems like we are encouraged to have some sort of credit by having a credit card of some sort. It's almost like the American way. But anyway, so I had their first credit card, and the plan was, because I don't remember if someone told me this or saw it on TV, but I don't remember being taught this actually in the school or even by my parents, that anytime you put something on your charge card, you should know that within the next 30 days, you're going to pay that amount off so you won't pay any interest. So the point is, you're just giving yourself a temporary loan because maybe you don't have the money right then and there, but tomorrow when the check come in, your paycheck or whatever's coming in, you're going to pay it right off. So that I went in with that attitude and I was doing quite fine for a while. And then something changed. And I can't even tell you what changed. I could come up with all kind of excuses. I could say, well, no one really taught me how to handle that for any expenditures that's a little bit more than what I could pay in 30 days. Or I could say, well, I had all these different businesses because I was in all these different entrepreneur activities and I had separate charge cards for those guys. And what happened, of course, was I had more expenditures than I had income. So I could say, well, it was my businesses. They didn't come out quite the way I wanted them. My one excuse I really can admit to that is that I like to travel a lot. And so what money I didn't have, I put it on the charge card. But even still, with the travel or businesses, I still had control over what I should and shouldn't spend. So I really can't even say it was the travel that made me do it. It's like, no, you just shouldn't have went. Then you wouldn't have had that. I wouldn't have had to charge on the card. But I did, so I had to charge. So being in debt, this was always so crazy because I've been retired government for quite a few years now, 11 years. And yet I was broke and I was civil servant retirement. So that's a decent pension, but hardly have any money, no money as in walk-in money, because most of that pension monthly check was going to other debtors, other creditors, people that I owed. So it wasn't like I had a lot of money on my pocket. And my dad and I, we have lunches every Wednesday. We've been doing that for a good over 10 years, something like that. And at one point, it was getting to a point where I was like, oh my goodness, I really can't. What we do is we would both, if it's our turn, we would pick the place, pay for it, and then pray. So when I picked a place, I had to start picking places that was inexpensive, less expensive. Because if I picked a place that had a high ticket, got to leave a tip and all that other kind of stuff, I was struggling. So I had to start picking stuff that was less expensive without getting fast food. And necessarily did not want to do fast food, but I had to get places that was less expensive. We didn't think only to God we didn't stop having lunches even during the pandemic. We did something else to still meet on those Wednesdays, but the amounts that I might have wanted to pay, I had to cut that back. So at that time, I had like $50,000 in credit card debt and about $75,000 in student loan debt. So that meant I was always short because we got to pay all those monies back. And woo, it's funny, the credit cards, the student loans, that was an automatic withdrawal. So that came out automatically. But the credit card, like, ooh, that got to be a real struggle. So that was the thing about that. Always short. And then, especially the crazy part is during those times, I was calling myself a Christian. So if I'm a Christian, why am I having this struggle with this money? And then what comes out is that, like in this Matthew 6:24, is because I was serving two masters. You can't do that. It says no man can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. So it can't serve both God and money. So if I was serving God, I shouldn't have been getting into that kind of debt. So I was so focused on what I can do with this credit card. Wow, I could travel, I could do whatever, travel more than anything else because I really, really love to travel. And I talked about that at the last one about being a travel agent and how I end up, because I love travel so much, got into the business so I could travel and so I could help other people travel. But anyway, money was more important than God and not even thinking about that. So when that happens, it never goes well. So being in debt, I also, then it came to a point where I started really needing some help bad because, we have all those credit cards that I had out there, and it was a lot of different cards. So it's one thing to have, like I just said, what did I say, 50,000, then they're not in one card. They're in who knows how many cards that was at that time. So all those bills come in all different times of the month and never could get a chance to pay one because you got to rob Peter to pay Paul, that kind of thing. So the crazy part is always short, like I said, and there were several months way back, and I can't even remember the year right now because I know it was a before pandemic kind of situation. So way back, I don't know, 2019 or something like that. The 3 months in a row, I was like, oh my goodness, I don't have enough money to come up with all the payments I need to pay. So I prayed a lot. I prayed a lot. I did a lot of praying that time. And the crazy part is, even though I wasn't yet repentant, yet following what I should do with my finances, wasting the money, somehow God would still give me money. Somehow money would just come from somewhere. Couldn't explain where it came from. It didn't fall out of the air, but somehow money would come when I prayed really hard about, help me out, help me out, help me, help me, help me, help me. Somehow, whatever I needed that month would come. The only bad part about this, I couldn't live like that anymore. I just couldn't get, okay, God, I'm messing up again. Can you help me out? Okay, God, I'm short. I need a couple $100. I just can't live like that. That is not cool. Just to be begging to God, please help me, please help me, please help me, and not having some kind of plan of repentance or some kind of plan of, okay, stop spending the money the way I did. So I just couldn't live that way. So I started praying for, give me help me out on how I can get this debt, how can we relieve this debt? And there were tons of commercials. Maybe that was probably kind of the answer, but not the answer because Satan probably was like, oh, let me help you out. There's all kind of commercial ways. There's all kind of companies out there that want to help you relieve your debt. And I'm sure you've seen them. You see them in the mail. You see them on email. You see them on Facebook. You see them on wherever social media, TV, radio. You hear there's always commercials about we can get you out of debt, and they talking about relieving your debt. Like, okay, you owe 50,000. Okay, we'll get it down to 25. Oh, maybe we'll get the whole thing forgiven. It's like, no, I don't really want to get rid of the debt. I gave the debt. I don't want to do bankruptcy either because I didn't want to go through a bankruptcy kind of thing. Because I was compelled thinking that if I made the debt, then I need to pay on the debt, not get relieved of the debt unless the company decided to do it. And that's on them, not because I went and did something to encourage them to give me a free ride. Because to me, that's almost like bankruptcy. I hate to say this, but I think bankruptcy is almost like legalized theft. You made the debt, and somehow you're going to file this chapter, whatever, because there's more than one chapter that you can file. So now you don't have to pay anymore. So like, now I put the debt in. I want to pay the debt. I just want to pay the debt. I just need some kind of way to help me do that. So I saw tons of those, checked them out. Someone was like, no, I don't want to do that because that's actually what they were doing, relieving your debt. And it works for a lot of people, and it's all good if you have that conviction to do that. That works because it does work. It looks like some of those debt relief ones do work, but it's a lot of work involved with that. And it's a lot of stuff that's going to be affecting your credit rating to go through something like that. So I didn't want to do that. Now on the radio, I listen to a Christian radio station every day, especially when I'm in the car somewhere, and they were always advertising for this company called Trinity. So I kept hearing that, and I was thinking the same kind of thing, like, okay, it's another one of those companies that, I don't know, whatever they're doing, I don't know, because there's so much stuff out there that can scam you. But I'm thinking, if they got that on this channel, I can't imagine them letting somebody like that be on the radio. Man, some of the radio also have some of those debt relief companies, and some of those, like I said, were pretty good. And they just weren't something for me because I even tried one, and then I said no, I got out of that before it got too deep, the debt relief one, because I just didn't like the idea of having my debt relieved by not paying basically, and then working out a deal with XYZ creditor. I just didn't like that ideal because I just didn't like that pressure. It just didn't feel right doing that because, like I said, I feel like I was stealing from them. But this Trinity, they're also Trinity, they advertise as Trinity on the radio station, but they're really called Christian Credit Counselor, probably because maybe Trinity is the overarching corporation and the sub corporation, maybe Christian Counselor or vice versa. So what I dealt with was the Christian credit counselors, and they are excellent. So if you're in this kind of situation with credit card debt, they would be the place to go, because what they do is they take whatever credit cards are eligible, and they have to be credit cards. So it's not for installment loans or house loans or anything like this. It's just for credit cards. They take those credit card accounts and they approach those individual companies that you have the credit card with, and they work out an arrangement where your interest rate is reduced and what your monthly amount is reduced. So then you pay that amount instead. So what they do is, say if you had 10 of them, 10 credit cards, and then they'll take the sum of all the new arrangements, say it's, I don't know, $50 a pop. I can't even do the math, and all of a sudden I don't even know where I'm going with that. But what I'm trying to say is they would take the sum of all those cards you have and whatever that those monthly amounts are for, say, the 10 are, that would be your full monthly amount that you would pay Christian credit counselor, and then they would disperse the monies to all those other credit card companies. So you're paying one payment at all these different reduced interest rates, and they would pay those until they pay them off. So then the cool part about that is they would have you make sure, okay, the balances are going down, because sometimes maybe you'll get a little extra money and then okay, let me send this particular credit card some little extra money, and so that would get your money down lower, because sometimes money comes and you're like, oh, let me apply this towards one of those cards. Your monthly amount's going to go down. It's just that the balance is going to go down. So that was nice, having them just doing that reduction in interest rate, because that's what kills you, is the interest rate, and reducing the monthly amount that is due. So you have to make sure you continue to pay your payment, that one-time payment to Christian credit counselor, so you won't be in default with the arrangements that they have made with these individual credit cards that you have. So that worked out great, because I did that one time, got that whole series of cards paid off, and then even while I was paying off some cards, I had to add a couple more in there because I was still not doing what I was supposed to be doing, not fully repentant. And the Holy Spirit was saying, just give it to them, add it in there. Your monthly amount's going to increase because you added a couple more cards in there, but at least it's all in one house. Interest rate is lower. The monthly amount that I had to owe was less. So I encourage anybody to use them because they are excellent, excellent, excellent. So then I also did some debt consolidations. So the debt consolidation were for those other things that weren't credit cards, like installment loans or things like that. So those took up the slack for those kind of things. So it's kind of funny how when I truly started to be actually repentant and praying to God, like, this time I'm for real, I'm good, I'm not gonna, this is just not fun. I really need you to help me, and I want to be able to be a financial wise steward for you, God. So he even put me in a wreck, meaning a car wreck. I mean, he helped me with the Christian counselor, brought them in, got the debt consolidation, and then he added this car wreck. Me and my girlfriend was on a snow-covered street, and we got into literally this icy chain reaction, and they totaled my car. Wasn't ready to have my car totaled, didn't have no money to be buying another car, for deposited one another car. So what my credit union did, and this is all God too, some creative financing, for me to buy a new car. And at that point, it was a brand new car, a little teeny tiny Fiesta. So I went from a SUV to a Fiesta because mentally I was kind of ready for a car. And that's a whole nother story in itself. But anyway, because I like SUVs better than cars. So that Fiesta, which was brand new, I forget what year it was, but whatever that brand new Fiesta was, the credit union gave me a loan for that one. And I already had a personal installment loan with them for just a personal loan I took some years back. So they took the financed the new car, and then they, yeah, because they also had my car loan too. So that's how it worked out. They also had my car loan on the car. It got tore up and totaled. And that was one of the times when I didn't take gap insurance. That's another thing. Make sure if you've got a car, get gap insurance so that if and when you get in a car accident, you'll be fully covered and not have a gap between what you owe your creditor and what the value of your car is. So it's just a side note. Anyway, so with this thing, I didn't have the gap insurance, so I still owed some dollar amount. I don't even remember what the dollar amount is because it's not really important, but I just knew, well, geez, I still got to pay my credit union and I don't even have a car. So but the blessing part is I did everything with the credit union. So what the credit union did, they just absorbed that amount that I owed them for the first loan into the second loan for the new car. Okay, so that was one loan. But then, like I said, I had a second loan with them, which was a personal loan, probably borrowing money for something, couldn't even tell you what it was. It had been something way back. And then they refinanced the second loan to help out with this wreck at the same time because it all happened at the same time. And I couldn't even explain how they did it. The long and short of it is I ended up with two loans. One was for the wreck and get the new car, pay off the old car. The other one was kind of like to refinance the personal loan out there, which gave me additional cash just to have cash, and it was lower interest and all that other kind of stuff. So it was a weird kind of creative financing that only God could have came up with because I only went there to say, look, I need a loan and I need to pay off the car I have with you. And they came up with the idea, hey, well, let's just take this loan, put them together, do this and that, and boom, I came out with financially better than what I was before the wreck. That was so crazy. And then eventually all that stuff was paid off. But anyhow, longer story. So as I'm continuing in my debt issues, this is where my repentance come in. I had to change to having cash only because if I had to come to the mental headspace, I'm still there, that if I can't pay it in cash, if I can't take it out of my savings account, if I can't take it, if I don't have a cash source to pay for whatever I'm trying to pay for, I can't have it. I can't go. I can't do it. Simple as that, which is the hardest thing because I like to travel. And a lot of times these things will come up like, well, I don't have the money right now. Okay, I'll just throw it on the card. I'll get a loan and pay it later. And we already know sometimes this stuff don't get paid later or it takes forever to get paid later. So it's like now I had to change my whole thought. Cash only, cash only, cash only. That's it. And then I prayed for God to give me a side hustle, a job, because I needed to be part of, okay, now if I'm doing cash only, I need to have some kind of money coming in. So I prayed specifically for a part-time job that gave me $500 after Uncle Sam took his cut out of there and anything else that came out. Meaning I'm walking home, my check says 500 or more a month. So wherever they broke out every other week, every week, whatever, the net amount is I get $500 of spending money for the month so I can go out for lunches with my dad, have spending money for whatever. So that's what I specifically prayed for, 500 net a month after Uncle Sam took his money out. So he gave me a job at a fast food restaurant, which gave me 15 to 20 hours a week. And that one, man, when you pray for something, God will exceed your expectations. So he gave me a job where I got more than 500 net a month just from a fast food restaurant. So I can imagine if I had something else. I mean, I wasn't looking for a job. I'm retired. I'm a pension. I don't want a job. I'm retired, but I do need some sort of income source. So getting a job was the way to go at that point. So I was with this fast food restaurant for, what I just said, 15, 20 hours a week. And it was answering my prayer. I got more than 500 a month working there. And I loved it because I was a hostess. And then because I just loved interacting with people, wiping down the tables, because I always was cracking up telling people because I was still training as a marathoner for a specific race at that time. And I was like, oh, this is my cross training job. I don't need to do any other exercise, but all the running around I was doing, interacting, talking, I was standing on my feet the whole time. I was like, man, that was my cross training right there. So it was all good and getting paid for it. Then the pandemic happened. So this happened in 2020, and we all know in 2020 we got locked down and dining facilities were shut down. They may not, if they had only dining in, then they were definitely shut down. If they didn't have any what do you call it, drive-through action or pickup action, they were out. So this particular fast food, only thing they were losing was just the people coming in to sit at a table, which meant I was unemployed. They said they could have kept me if I had wanted to work the line or work in the kitchen. I'm like, oh no, I'm not trying to do that. Working the line is for young people, and working in the kitchen, I love to cook, but I'm not trying to be cooking on an industrial level. I'll cook at home. So I was put on unemployment, and there we go. But then that ended up being the best thing that happened to me, going on unemployment. So the crazy part is this is totally God too, because it's all pandemic, and anybody else that's been through the pandemic and went on unemployment all know we got a lot of money. We got a lot of money as unemployed people, higher than normal before this pandemic came because of the laws and how they worked that system out for the different states and whatnot. So I was thinking that I was getting the unemployment because of the fast food, and I couldn't quite understand it because I was only there at the fast food, maybe 3 months, if that. And I already knew that unemployment usually got to have a little bit more time in to even qualify to get it. So I put it in anyway because I was thinking the worst could happen, and they could say no, but I got it. So I'm thinking, wow, okay, cool. Maybe because the rule is different because we're going through this pandemic and we're under this other system of getting the unemployment. That's what I thought it was. Could never figure out where they were getting their determination on how much money I was supposed to get for unemployment. It wasn't until later when I was deeper in the unemployment that I realized it had to do with the fact that I was self-employed because I had Schedule C income from those different activities I was telling you about, those other side hustles, self-employment wise, that didn't pan out to be enough to retire from being a government, but still existed. And so I had profit on some of those activities, some of those ventures. And the only reason why I didn't realize or didn't think about it is because before the pandemic, no Schedule C person, no self-employment income ever got unemployment. So I wasn't even thinking about that. But since they had to see my full tax return, they used those numbers. It took me a while to figure out, oh, they're using the money from my self-employment. So the fast food wasn't even an issue. God just used the fast food action to make me think, oh, wow, I'm an employee now. Maybe I get unemployment. Because if I had not had that, I would not have even applied for unemployment at all because I know I didn't qualify. I was pitching, I was self-employed. Neither is going to get me unemployment in a pandemic or any time for that matter. So that was the only reason why, wow, I was in the loop because it never really came up in anything that I saw that self-employment people until I really did the research because it was kind of bugging me. How am I getting this kind of money? But anyway, so because of that unemployment, that helped me to pay down a lot on my student loans, a lot. Because at that time they deferred us, and I'm thinking it might have been a good 2.5 to 3 years. They deferred us on our payments, meaning we didn't have to make any payments on our student loans. And if we did make payments on it, it was going all towards the principal, no interest. They were deferring the interest. You didn't have to pay it because of the situation we were going through. And that was like a blessing big time right there because having student loans, you go in thinking, oh, I'm going to have this paid off in 10 years. But then when the real deal comes, then you realize, hold up, I can't afford to pay this off in 10 years. So you end up paying it off for a longer period of time. And you get into lower programs that allow you to pay the monthly amount that you can afford to pay, which is way more than 10 years. So there's a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about. When you get to student loans, there's not too many of us that pay in 10 years time. That would have been peachy. But no, it's probably 20, 30, 40. I mean, I remember seeing a joke about some guy, it was like a comic strip, where he was celebrating he had just recently celebrated his 100th birthday in a nursing home. So then a couple of weeks later, they showed him celebrating again. Like, what are you celebrating now? They said, he just paid off his loans. And that's what I'm talking about because it takes forever to pay off those student loans when you really want to pay it off. A lot of people just don't pay it off because they can't help it. They don't have the money and they end up defaulting on it, and that goes into a whole nother negative impact on their credit rating. So it was definitely going to take me more than 10 years. So with the money that I got from unemployment, I said, oh, shoot, I'm going to keep on paying. I kept on paying whatever the monthly amount was. I kept paying it because I knew it was going straight to principal. And a lot of times I said, oh, I'm paying more. So thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars went down on my student loan because I kept on paying it because it wasn't hurting me. I understand why they were doing it because they were trying to help people that needed that income source because maybe they lost their job, maybe, I don't know, something happened in the pandemic, so they didn't have that income source. So they needed the money they were paying towards the student loans to live. That was not my situation. I was getting a pension. So I said, oh, it's not hurting me. I'm not feeling this pain. I'm just going to keep on paying my student loan because its full amount is going towards the principal, not the interest. And the interest is not going to come back later whenever they decide to do this. It was like right now. So like that's how thousands and thousands of dollars went down in student loan because like that was the best blessing God ever gave me to help me get that money down on a student loan. So, so what's been wonderful about all that since the pandemic and now, it's weird how I'm always telling people, I'm always thinking the pandemic because I'm financially better because of going through the pandemic and the health issues. And that's a whole nother story I'll talk about because of the pandemic. That's a whole nother segment we're going to talk about later down the road. So, but that having cash in my pocket was like foreign. Like, what? I see this pile of $1 bills on this picture here, but it was like that. I mean, I wasn't even used to having the $5, and like, because maybe I got to put it on a card. Maybe I had a couple bucks, but now I actually had real cash in my pocket. So it's like, oh my goodness, this is really nice having cash in my pocket, cash in the savings, and just having cash, and not having to go to the credit card to help me through. So a sister from church helped me out even more financially while all this was going on. This is all during the pandemic still. So this is all this stuff has happened in the last, 3-4 years, because we had to shut down in 20. So in the last 3-4 years. So somewhere in there, I had a conversation with the sister because I was trying to see if I can get employment with her in her business. And that just didn't work out because God said, nope, that's not what I really wanted you to do. So she taught me, well, what to do with my monies when they come in. And I did this with the unemployment. I did it with anything that came into my house in some form of income. This is how I handle every time. So only have to think about when money comes in, this is how it goes out. The first 10% goes to tithes. So that's going straight to church. Another 10% is going to special missions. Our church contributes to special missions all over the world so other people can come to know Christ. So I donate 10% immediately to special missions right off the top. 10% goes into my savings account right away. Another 10% goes towards investments. And then another 10% goes to me so I can have spending money. So then the balance, okay, now that I said all those 10%, this is 10% of the gross, not 10% of the net that you received in your check. 10% of the gross. Okay, because you really got whatever that gross amount is. Yeah, I know Uncle Sam, Union Dude, all that kind of stuff, whatever comes out, but it's 10% of the gross. So then the balance, because I don't want to say 50%, the balance of any monies after all that 50% right there, the 5-10% goes towards debt or any other expenditures. So we already know that's not 50% because the gross is way higher than 10% of what I actually got in my hand. So that could have been, who knows, 40%, 30%. I don't know, whatever that worked out to be is not 50% because of the gross. So that's still a total blessing. That's still a lot of money going towards something else, towards your debt, towards whatever. So that's how that worked out. And that's how I still to this day do any bit of money that come into my house. 50% goes out into those 5 increments of 10% to those different categories. And then the balance goes towards debt that I need to send it to or other expenditures that come up, especially them expenditures that come up once, these odd things that just pop up and you're like, money. But here we go. It works out. So here Malachi, this is a challenge for doing these 10%. It just brings up the point of Malachi 3:10. Bring the whole tithe in the storehouse. No matter how poor, how struggle we are, we need to bring the whole tithe in. Because I know I've done this before, way back when I was still struggling, still being unrepentant. I actually did this challenge. I did this challenge with God. And I paid the whole tithe into the storehouse, even though I didn't have the money so that there be food in my house. So he says, test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing, there will be not enough room to store it. What he says he will do, he will do. So you need to do that. Bring that whole tithe into the house, and God will help you Don't even think about, oh man, I don't have that much to give, give what you are compelled to give. Bring that whole tithe into the house. And then also in 1 Corinthians 16:2, on the first day of every week, each of you should set aside a sum of money in keeping with your income, saving it up so that when I come, no collection will have to be made. So we need to be in a situation where we are setting aside every week whatever monies that come in, set it aside so that it can be part of this whole tithe situation. So set that money aside. Set that money aside. What I do now is because I don't like to. It says set it aside. It's like when I get the money, I'm sending it right away because I don't even want it in my house. It's like, okay, check came in today. I'm Venmoing this money to my tithes, my special contribution, making the donation to the savings, making my donation to the investment, giving 10% to me, and then, like I said, the balance goes in. So a lot of times that might not be every week. It's just however the monies come in. So because I'm on a pension, that's the only steady Eddie that I really know that I get whatever that amount is amount. The other pays, I have no idea what that's going to be. So to set aside, I would have to do it on the fly, just like you are, because you won't know what your money's in when it comes in too. Unless you're getting monthly pay, weekly pays, because I'm not, like I said, I'm a pension person. So now I pay my tithes or once a month for the pension. And then the side hustle job, which I'm working now as a driver ed instructor, that's a whole nother story there too, how God got me into being a driver ed instructor during the last 2 years. That money and it's weekly. So I've never had a job where I got a weekly pay now. It's like, I'm really doing this weekly thing set aside every week. So that check comes every week and the whole 50% plan goes into action and the debt balance and expenditures applies every week for me. But immediately, I'm not setting aside it, I'm just pulling it out, sending it right away, get it out of my pocket. All right, so that's part of what my new life is. Now my student loans are down to 44,000. And it's so crazy about that because, a lot of people have gotten their student loans forgiven for all kind of different reasons because I make too much money. I can't even get that. And then the crazier part, I'm a retired government and you need 10 years in as a government employee. Actually, they want you to be still working, but I'm retired to qualify to get all of it forgiven. So when the law came into effect way back when, I don't think what year that is, because this is way before the pandemic even, and then we had modifications in the last few years about how people are getting their debts forgiven. Government, if I had worked 7 more years, 44 would have been gone by now, gone. But I needed 7 more years. So there was no way. Even if I knew that then, Holy Spirit said, nope, your retirement day is in April 2011, you out. So I couldn't have made 7 more years anyway. It's still been sane, but then that'd have been disobedient because God told me to leave. So anyway, so I'm still kind of hoping maybe, who knows, maybe something down the line will come up and it might happen. Then if it doesn't happen, because I would love that to happen. Yeah, I would love that debt to go away because then I can use the monthly amount that I'm paying on a student loan for something else big time. Because man, that 10, 10, 10 to 50% and what's left over, wow, that could really spread out to a lot right there. Just having it in my pocket instead of sending it to the creditors of my student loans, plural. So, but the blessing part is God is enabling me to pay on it. So there's no, if I didn't have to pay on it or struggling with that, then it'd be like, oh, come on, God, help me out. But nope, He has worked it out that I'm having sufficient income to pay on the student loans now that we're back in the deferment because the deferment stopped or ceased back in September 2023. So for the last 6-7 months, I've been back to paying student loans and paying partial interest, partial principal. So there we go. But I'm also, which might be different, it is different. I'm paying more a month. So I'm not paying the amount that's exactly owed on that monthly amount. I'm paying a little bit more so that I can get down a little bit faster. And now I only have one credit card. And the only reason I have the one credit card, I really wish I didn't have it, but because of being in the United States and because a lot of companies are, man, a lot of vendors, a lot of stores, a lot of places, are going cashless. So you need a credit card, or some sort of debit card. And I'm not trying to use a debit card. And I suggest no one use a debit card, because a debit card is pulling money directly out of your checking, savings, whatever it is you got it tied to. That's real money. The credit card is just a short-term loan that you're going to pay back real quick, hopefully pay it back right away. So without any interest. So having a credit card is for those situations when, oh gosh, I got to pay because they want a card. And because I just did something the other day, I'm trying to think, where was I at? Oh, I had to buy a key for something. And they said, nope, we got to have a credit card. And I had the cash in my hand. And they said they couldn't take it. They needed a credit card. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. So I had to get a credit card to buy the darn key. And then that was nuts. So whatever. So I had to take that money back home, put it in the bank, and transfer it to the credit card so I could pay it off like that same day. And that's how I handle this credit card. When I do make the credit card charge, whatever that's for, I immediately that same day transfer it from checking, savings, wherever I got it, and put it on the credit card. So it's just like the charge is coming in the same day, credit card, the money's going in there the same day too. So it's almost like it just stays zero, even though it's not zero. So it's like, no, we're going, because the days are always off. Credit card takes a little longer for the money to get there. But anyway, so that's how I roll with this one credit card. So the only other cards I might use is something like a Venmo, not even a Venmo card, a Cash App card. So that's just like having cash, because sometimes that works better than carrying around a bunch of cash, using the Cash App card, and then Venmo for those kind of electronic transfers. But it's still cash because it's still tied to the account. So then I still have a few cards left for credit council. Man, I can't even Tri-C. All of a sudden, I can't remember what the acronym stand for. What is it? You saw it on a page before. Council Credit Christian Credit Counselor. There we go. So, so those will be paid off soon. So I just love that. So hopefully, once these last cards are done, hopefully. This is the plan, because I'm totally repenting. Once I'm done with these guys, we'll be done with these guys. We'll be done, and done. So then at this point, all those debt consolidations that I told you about earlier, they're all gone. They don't exist. They're out. So they're not there anymore. The car loan is the only other loan that I still have, because it's the car. And unless you have, I know I don't have this kind of money just laying around where I can walk into a dealer and say, okay, here's my $50,000 in cash, or whatever I'm buying this car for, 40,000. And here we go. Well, I got to get a loan every time I get a car, because I don't have that kind of money just laying around. So I still have a car loan, but God it's still enabling me to pay on that car. So, and this is now a car from a second crash that could add another total. Just happened just this last October. And I'm still praising God for that, because I probably shouldn't even be here talking. I probably should be either maimed and lame in a rehab, or I should be underground, because I had a T-bone where somebody ran a red light and just totaled another car. So this time I had gap insurance, so we was all good. So anyway, so that's what I still have out there, is the car loan, the one credit card. Anything else I'm paying cash for? I'm paying cash for travel and other expenditures. I mean, this has been so wonderful for me, because I remember last year a sister from church wanted me to join her on a cruise. And I was like, the first thing I thought, because I was still thinking in my old mentality, even though I was financially better, I was thinking, oh, wow, I don't have that money. And then the Holy Spirit said, yeah, you got it in your savings. I said, I do? Oh, pay that cruise off with one payment. Bam, we cash. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. That is something I was not ever accustomed to. I'm used to paying the down payment, your deposit, and then paying over time, or paying on a credit card, So that was like, wow, I'm paying a cruise off in cash. So, I mean, when you see stuff like that, it's like, why do I want to go back to living the way I was doing financially? Oh, no, 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 no. So this is wonderful. No car I got to pay, no extra interest I got to pay, whatever. So any travel now that I'm doing is in cash. Okay, there are a lot, and that's why a lot of times we plan our travel trips couple years in advance, so we could pay a deposit and pay in cash over time. So So it's not like, okay, we decided we're going to travel tomorrow. So, oh, I can't travel tomorrow because I don't have the cash. Sorry, no, we're not happening. So we'll plan a trip a year and a half to two in advance so we can pay a deposit and just pay something on it every month or whenever, even more so if more money comes in. So, but that's still all in cash, and that's just been wonderful doing that. So, what's so great about it also about this, what God has me in now, I can financially help other people. I can give people money when they need something. Because before, well, sorry, sis, I can't help you. I only get $5. I can't give you the five I got. So now I'm like, okay. I just love it when God enables me to have some money where, I don't know, it's always like a weird thing. I don't know where extra money came in from somewhere out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, God, what you want me to do with this? Who you want me to help? Who can I help with this money that I have or with this thing or something? And he'll verbally say, help Mary Jo over there, so whatever. So I just love that being able, now I can financially help other people where before I couldn't do nothing. So we're done with that. So I am definitely in a different place now. And I'm just trying to say to you, just be a good steward of your money. Be a good steward of your money, help be able to help other people, be able to just have joy in your life because you're not financially, psychologically stressed about, I have no money, I just can't do nothing, woe is me, whatever. Because not having money, being in debt to people that can take your stuff, your house, your car, your money out of your account, whatever. That is just not a way to live. So just be a due diligence servant of the money that God gives us, because He gives us this money and He only asks for a little bit back, just a tithe. You get to do the rest of the money. I remember somebody saying this, we talking about tithes. Tithes are 10% of the gross, like I was saying, and I just had extra because I got this from another sister. But if you only did the 10% tithes and didn't do the other stuff, that means you got 90% money that you can use for your own. Like, I just want a little bit to help out the kingdom, to help other people to become disciples, help other people to become Christians, help other people with whatever their financial situation is through the church. And you get to keep the rest. That's a lot. So what I'm saying here is just to be wise stewards of your money. Pray to God, have Him to direct you on where you need to go, who you need to see, what kind of counselors you need to see to help you out of getting out of debt, and then stay totally repentant and just do it. Don't start it and go, oh, and then start falling back, because it is work. It's work. It's not gonna getting I don't like to use the word debt free, because people say, I'm going to get debt free. Debt free, it's like, okay, debt free means you don't have not a thing you owe. I'm trying to figure out, what does that look like? I mean, because you're always going to have utilities. You're always going to have these things, you're going to always have, even though they're not like a loan or something, but you're always going to be paying something. So debt free to me means you don't owe anything ever, nothing. And that's like, oh, that world doesn't really exist. You're going to always owe somebody something. It's just a matter of how you owing them. That's the issue. How are you owing them? Because even if you're owing somebody, are you paying too much in interest? Are you, what is it? How are you owing them? So let's just use the money that God gives us wisely for the benefit of Him, for the benefit of you, and for the benefit of others. So I'll see you next week as we talk about something else.